Okay, let's take a few minutes to talk about the tools you'll need to help you accomplish your nutrition goals over the next few weeks. We're going to be talking about kitchen tools and the impact that these tools have on our lives. There's a quote that comes to mind. We become what we behold. We shape our tools, and thereafter our tools shape us. Humans have been shaping tools for around 2.6 million years. By inventing tools, they were able to accomplish certain tasks that simple human bodies could not, such as a spear or bow and arrow to kill prey, since their teeth were not sharp enough to pierce an animal's skin. This new advantage of being able to kill and consume animals gave humans an evolutionary advantage. Because the meat in animals is a dense source of both fat and protein, this gifted humans with the ability to come down from the trees and begin the long evolutionary process of learning to walk upright. The dense macronutrient composition of meat also fueled the growth and evolution of the human brain. And then about 164,000 years ago, Homo sapiens learned how to use fire in order to cook food. Because of this, the human brain grew even larger and eventually gave us the ability for abstract thought. Also, as a direct result of cooking food, humans evolved smaller teeth, and the large cecum that our gorilla cousins still have today shrank in humans to become a small appendix. So I tell you this because this is the most basic explanation of how our tools have shaped us since the beginning of the human species. Tools are an essential component of the human experience. And if you understand that, then you understand how important it is to have the right tools to shape you into what you want to become. Think about the tools that you use to prepare your food on a regular basis and how they shape you. Ask yourself the question, are these really the tools that I want shaping me? If not, then it might be worth it to get those tools out of the house so that you're not tempted to use them again. Now let's take a moment to discuss the tools that will come in handy in the process of shaping this newer version of you. Don't worry about trying to write it down. This list will be in your course materials this week. Here are some of the tools that you'll want to have in your kitchen. A really awesome blender, a food processor, sharp knives, a cutting board, lemon juicer, a cut fruit saver, which is a container, hot water kettle, salad spinner, measuring cups and spoons, fine mesh strainer, and a cheesecloth or a nut milk bag. The first thing you'll need is a really good blender. You'll use this to make smoothies, soups, salad dressings, and more. A good blender will save you lots of time as it pulverizes food very quickly, efficiently breaking down plant matter, so its nutrition is readily available for the body without the body having to do much work. The cost of blenders falls within a relatively wide range, and it's important to remember that when it comes to blenders, you get what you pay for. I have used all kinds of blenders over the years to make smoothies, and I'll tell you that it's absolutely worth the money to invest in a high-quality blender. I'm not trying to throw shade at your blender if you have a Ninja, which is a popular brand, but I will tell you that the smoothies we are going to be making are high in fiber, and blenders on par with the Ninja just fail to get the job done. Even on their best day, these less expensive blenders don't have the power and capacity to break down the plant fibers in order to make your smoothie really palatable. If you use the wrong blender to make green smoothies, you may not enjoy the smoothie as much. It might be chewy and the greens may not be fully broken down. If all you have access to is a less efficient blender that can't break down tough plant fibers like kale leaves, for example, then try making your green smoothies with more water and easier to blend ingredients like peeled cucumber and romaine lettuce, which typically breaks down fairly well. Higher quality blenders like the Vitamix can be very efficient in breaking down dense plant fibers. On the other hand, a brand new Vitamix can be really expensive. However, it is possible to find refurbished Vitamix blenders for up to 40% off. Vitamix is not the only great blender brand in the world, but it is the one that I use and highly recommend. If you don't already have a blender, I would suggest taking your time to shop around for one. From my experience, an excellent blender is one of the most important investments you can make when it comes to supporting a healthy diet. One great blender will outlast and outperform multiple blenders of lower quality. I can understand if you don't want to make the investment in an expensive blender simply to complete a 4-week challenge. Ultimately, my hope is that you will not just use it for the next 4 weeks, but that you'll get into the habit of using it regularly for many years to come. However, if it is not within your budget to purchase a blender at this time, then don't sweat it. There are dietary workarounds that can allow you to avoid having to use this tool altogether. A good food processor is the second item on the list. Now you might wonder why you need both a food processor and a blender. Trust me, even though they both go chop chop with the blade, they do different things and have different capacities. A food processor is going to be more ideal for chopping and mixing those really heavy, dense recipes. Although a solid blender like a Vitamix can usually get the job done, It puts strain on the motor, which makes it wear out faster. Your blender will last a lot longer if you respect its limits and let the food processor do the heavy lifting with those dense recipes. I used an older model Hamilton Beach food processor, which I inherited from my grandma, and I'm very happy with it because it gets the job done and I haven't had to replace it yet. Longevity and functionality are both great qualities in a tool. The third tool on the list is a set of sharp cutting knives. Keep those knives sharp. The most dangerous knife you have in your kitchen is the dull one. Sharp knives can easily cut and chop through dense plant fibers. This means you have to exert less physical force to move the blade through what you are cutting. When the blade is dull, and you really have to put some body weight into cutting and chopping, you actually increase the risk of not only cutting yourself, but cutting yourself with force, which can be much more dangerous. The fourth tool you'll need is a good cutting board, because the sharp knife will need a place to land. And I imagine if your countertops could talk, they would thank you for investing in a cutting board. Lemon juicers. There are a few varieties available. I prefer a simple juicer with a glass base, like the one on the right, to catch the juice after it has been strained. Either way, you'll want to find the right juicer for you, as you'll be using it every morning. The next tool you might want to consider is a cut fruit container for saving the second half of the lemon so that you can use it for your hot water the next morning. Plus, it's a cute little way to remind yourself that your morning lemon water ritual is a top daily priority. Speaking of hot water, you'll want to have some kind of easy water heating kettle to prepare hot water for your lemon drink in the morning. Some people prefer using a good old-fashioned whistling stovetop kettle, but I use an electric water kettle like the one on the right. You'll also want a good high-quality salad spinner. These are wonderful tools and they come in very handy. After you have washed and chopped your lettuce, place the chopped lettuce in the salad spinner and spin until all the excess water is flung outside the mix and collected at the bottom. There are a few different varieties when it comes to salad spinners. There's the spinner on the left that you activate by repeatedly pulling a crank string. This will work for a while, but when that string wears out, you have to replace the entire spinner. A better investment, in my opinion, is the salad spinner on the right with the extended part at the top that you have to repeatedly push down in order to activate the spinning. This is the one that I use now, and I'm happy with how much use I've gotten out of it compared to my last string spinner. Again, you get what you pay for here. Measuring cups and spoons. All of the recipes we are using will be pretty basic, but it will come in handy to have a set of measuring spoons and cups available to get the balance just right in your recipes. Fine mesh strainer. This is useful for straining quick nut milks as well as draining our alkaline grains like quinoa and millet. A cheesecloth or nut milk bag will come in handy for straining nut milk. You yield more nut milk when you use a cheesecloth compared to a strainer. For the sake of time, I'm just going to briefly mention that there are a lot more kitchen tools and utensils that will make your life so much easier when trying to cook and prepare healthy meals at home. I have listed several of these general categories and specific pieces in this slide. If you have any questions about these items, then shoot me an email and we can cover those in greater depth in this week's online meetup.